We do have your phone calls moments away. A lot of people want us to address the non-goaltend call. And Steve addressed it after the game. So did Steph in very different ways. Steve did the whole, I'd like to not get fined. These are really hard calls to make, and so I'm used to it. And Steph did and again, I'm paraphrasing.
I want my bucket.
Steph was like, so it was a goaltend, and they missed it. Okay, next question. What else do you want him to say? And he's right. I saw from the backboard cam shot.
I need to see that view because I haven't seen it.
It's a no-doubt goaltend, but also, I get why at full speed or depending on your angle, it was hard to see. It as Steve called it last night, bang, bang.
Right.
The question that I know a lot of you want us to ask Steve, and we will, why not challenge? So there's 8 minutes plus to go in the game. It would have tied the game. What I don't know, and I bet you do, I don't know the rule of, because if it was a goaltend, well, now we stop and we inbound. What happens with the continuation of the play, which turned into a goaltend bucket at the other end for Denver? So if you had reviewed it and you're like, yep, it was a goaltend, does that also take away the bucket that Denver got at the other end in the continuation of the play?
I don't think so.
I don't either.
I don't think so.
But it kind of should.
It's a continuation sensation is what it is. I feel like you were leading me to that. And I'll take the buck.
You've done good.
I think that it just, whatever happens afterward happens. It's not like football where, once you snap the ball, you can't go back. In this case, and there was a play last night where Porter Jr. hit a 3 that turned out to be a 2, and I was listening to the game doing a milk run for my baby Mila, and I heard Kevin Dana say it's not 81-81, it's 81-80 because Porter Jr.'s toe was on the line. We'll be right back. Gucci. And so that's the kind of thing.
Exactly. I also don't know this. I don't even know if you can challenge that. I don't know if you can.
I'll look that up.
Because I think that you can challenge calls. I don't know if you can challenge things that aren't called. Do you know what I mean? If somebody calls a foul on you, you can now challenge that.
Right.
Was it actually a foul? Well, if nobody called a foul, you can't stop the game and be like, hey, refs, go look at that. He fouled me. There's no call to review. So I actually don't even know if he can challenge it. I have questions that see, now, Lucas, you're telling me he can. You're saying he can't. Yeah, I don't know if he can.
I'm looking at the rule right now, and it says a team may utilize a challenge to trigger instant replay of one of the following 3 events: a called personal foul, a called out-of-bounds violation,
right,
or a called goaltending or basket interference violation.
Right, but it wasn't called.
This was not a called goaltending or a basket interference.
And I think that the reason is for what I just stated, which is that the play continues in a way that it wouldn't have had there been a call. So now there's this chain link fence that gets built, and you're like, okay, if we were wrong and we now change it, do we have to change everything else that just happened? Let me give you another scenario. Let's say Denver keeps playing and goes to the other end and they brick a shot. Steph gets the rebound and he runs down the other end and nails a 34-footer, and the Warriors take the lead. Well, if you had, in theory, I know this is not football,
right,
but if you had thrown a challenge flag
totally
in the middle of all this, well, what happens? Do we now take away the 3-pointer that Steph just hit? So I think I'm actually talking myself into this along with what you just read.
Yeah.
I don't even think he could challenge it.
Correct.
Which is a flaw.
Problematic.
It is a flaw.
And this is where, and as we asked Steve Kerr today at 5 o'clock about challenging or not challenging, he will reiterate how much he doesn't like the challenge system.
Right.
And I think he is of the same mind as me, which is just call the game. Call the game and we'll deal with it on whatever happens.
We're going to miss calls every night on every quarter.
On both ends of the floor.
Of course,
always.
Of course.
And I think that that's where he still will sit in a case like this. So if you can't challenge it unless it's called a goaltend, so now we're going to train our referees, much like with, things in the NFL where we don't call a fumble anymore. We let it play out, and then change of possession is now reviewable. So We don't call, things that are clearly down by contact. We call them a fumble now, and we let it play out, and then we go to review, and we waste 2 or 3 minutes, and we all realize his knee was down. That's not a fumble. And then we go back after review, he was down by contact. It'll be third down.
Right.
And we waste our time.
No, but it means you take away all of the things that would have happened if it was a fumble.
Right.
So the NBA's not doing that. I know you call it a waste of time. I don't think it is at all. If somebody's celebrating in the end zone and they've got their turnover chain out, and it turns out the guy's knee was on the ground,
right,
as was his shoulder and his other knee,
exactly,
and his helmet and his other shoulder were all down, well, no, it's not a waste of time. It's like, give him the ball back. It wasn't a fumble.
It's a waste of time in that we've trained our officials to not see what we see and blow it dead. Now officials are trained in the NFL to let it play out, because once you whistle it, it's over. Now you can't scoop and score because we blew it dead. And that's where in the NBA, we're going to get to a point where a close bang-bang play, now we're just going to call it goaltending, and we're going to make the team that was not offended challenge it with their one challenge or not, because that's the only way that. Right. So if that was goaltending, and I believe you, I haven't seen that replay.
Yeah, it was. It was close. And believe Steph. Steph went crazy.
Yeah.
He knows. He
Steph
was right
knows.
there.
I mean, he put it up there. So it's goaltending. And so if you don't call it, you can't challenge it. But if you do call it, now Denver's got to challenge it with their only challenge. Do they really want to challenge it with 8 minutes to go?
I mean, should we tell refs when it comes to goaltending, when in doubt, especially when it's the backboard variety, not the one that's the teardrop variety.
Right.
But the backboard variety, when in doubt, call it.
I guess. But now we're in a spot where coaches only have one challenge.
Right.
So now you're looking at Steve Kerr, even if it was challengeable, and I don't believe that it was.
Yeah.
Would Steve use his one challenge with 8:27 to go on a 2-point basket in a 2-point game?
I'd argue he probably would. That's maybe the better question for Steve today.
Well, it seems like the only things that he challenges are Draymond Green fouls. Because, you got to keep Draymond happy.
Right. You got to call TJD and Pajemski back from Santa Cruz because Draymond said so.
I want to look up the history of Steve Kerr's challenges and see how many of them are on Draymond Green fouls.
I mean, he admitted to us last year. He's like, sometimes you just give up your challenge to keep your guys' heads screwed on straight.
Exactly.
Yeah, I totally get it. By the way, no matter what we do, there will forever be loopholes. I thought this one was super interesting. Do you remember... Did you watch the Philly-Dallas game?
Yeah.
Over the weekend?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't remember the name of the tight end. I don't think it was Ferguson. I think it was the backup tight end for Dallas. Had the touchdown at the goal line on 4th down. And then they reviewed it, and the knee hit just before the ball crossed the goal line. But it was all in the motion of the catch.
And he was not down by contact.
And his knee,
He caught the ball.
No, he was, because literally had a guy draped on his back as he caught it.
Gotcha.
So draped on his back, they're already contacted. He's on the way just falling. And he falls with the ball over the goal line. But the knees are the first part of his body to hit the ground.
Right.
So they review it, and they say, no touchdown. Chris Sims brings up a great point. He goes, now, what would have happened if the ball had not survived him hitting the ground? You would have called it an incomplete pass, which tells me that when you're saying his knee was down, it doesn't count as a completed pass yet.
Until he completes the catch.
You haven't survived the ground yet.
Exactly.
So it's not a catch. So how are you calling him down by contact
Fascinating.
when he technically hasn't caught the ball yet? And he goes, it's a loophole. There's literally nothing there's a no good answer there. And he's right.
Right, because it's not a catch until you survive the ground. Yet you're down by contact when you're contacted and your knee is down.
Yeah, and you have the ball.
Right.
Tucked in your arms.
And I wonder if that happens at happens at the 31-yard line on like a third or like a 2nd down and 7. Just a garden variety catch, and he catches it, and the same thing happens. Where do they mark the ball? Do they mark it where his knee hit, or do they mark it where he completed the catch?
Well, mark it
where he completes the catch.
Where he completes the catch. Although, as you know, marking the ball in football is the least exact science that we have in all of sports.
Yes.
It's just some guy that's like, I'm going to put my foot right here.
Or some lady. And we saw it this weekend where after review, they moved the ball a yard forward and somebody got a first down.
And sometimes they do it seemingly just for fun. And they're like, I'm going to move the ball.
In all honesty, for the line judge or the side judge, it's almost impossible so you're watching the play, and you have to watch when the knee goes down and where the ball is relative to where the player is and the line to gain, it's almost impossible. You need a microchip, and I've said it for years.
And someday there will be. Someday there will be.